Erie County officials are holding a press conference right now after cities like Buffalo got hit hard by that deadly winter storm. A driving ban in parts of Erie County was lifted just this morning. Officials speaking now. Let's listen in.
The 12 inches is expected in the most persistent band area. This is not helpful as we're trying to recover and clear off streets and get into areas that still have not had a plow. There is, of course, a state of emergency in effect for all of Erie County. We were able to lift the driving ban in some communities, but there still is a driving ban in the city of Buffalo. The city of Buffalo is impassable in most areas. And once again, to our friends in media, if you could mute your phones, I'm going to lower my volume right here so we don't hear you just right now. But the city of Buffalo is impassable in most areas, while mains may have a lane open for emergency traffic or two. Most secondaries as well as side streets have not been touched yet. This is primarily because the efforts were going towards opening up areas around hospitals, around nursing homes, around other emergent care locations. We also were assisting in life-saving response, so high lifts were going out with ambulances to save lives. I'll give you an example of that. An individual woman who was able to get to ECMC, who was going through a complicated pregnancy, could not be handled at ECMC, needed to go to Oshai Children's Hospital. We had one of our county contracted high lifts leading the way, making an area that was otherwise impassable passable to Oshai Children's Hospital. And I have the very good news to report that the pregnancy went well and the baby was born safely. Example of the work that's being done. Life safety was the first and primary issue that I've been dealing with. Most abandoned cars in the city have unfortunately not yet been towed. There's cars everywhere, pointing the wrong direction on roads. They've basically been plowed in. They need to be dug out and towed, and it's going to take time to clear those. While some have been towed, not everyone. Tractor trailers as well. There's tractor trailers. There's abandoned buses on roads. So it's a very, very tenuous situation still in the city. The suburbs are better, but there's still a driving ban, not just in Buffalo, but also in the towns of Amherst, Cheektowaga, Clarence, Evans, Hamburg, West Seneca, and the city of Lackawanna. I've talked to many of those officials, or some of the officials this morning, and they are all of the agreement that the driving ban will not be lifted anytime soon. So expect that the driving ban to be in effect for all those communities through the daylight hours at least. That is because conditions are bad. Main roads may be open, but they are for emergency travel only. Unfortunately, we still have a lot of travel of individuals who do not appear to be doing anything other than joyriding or going to a friend's house. They're not emergency personnel. I spoke to individuals today, including Supervisor Brian Culpa, who's said that the Amherst PD, now that they've settled down on life-saving rescues, are going to go out there and they're going to stop people in intersections. They're going to see if they have emergency travel authorization, and if they don't, they're going to ticket them and send them back on their way. It's the only thing we must do in this situation. Police have been working round the clock on life-saving measures, so they are not been going out there ticketing people, but now they're going to. Because truthfully, you are harming our ability to recover, and you may be the reason that we're not able to get an ambulance to a location, because cars are still getting stuck out there. Conditions are bad, especially after the snow that fell in the overnight hours. Some neighborhoods in these towns do have snow removed, but others do not, or it's too dangerous because they still do not have it curb to curb, and they have 8 to 10 foot drifts, so you can't see where you're going. You can't find out exactly where you're going when you're trying to make a turn. So please, unless you're emergency personnel, do not drive. If you are in the area where the driving ban is lifted, a travel advisory is still in place, and there's still areas where it's not so easy. Tonawanda is a lot clearer, decided after talking with the supervisor to lift the travel ban, but they also are getting hit with a lot of snow. And reports are that people who do not have appropriate vehicles are driving and getting stuck, which makes it, of course, very difficult, even in an area where the ban was lifted. Power outages, we do have some good news. NYSEG is down to 62 customers countywide. They restored hundreds yesterday. Thank you to all the men and women of NYSEG for your great work, and thank you to the men and women of National Grid for your great work, too. More than 13,000 customers were restored in the 24-hour period, and they have 12,473 that are currently out, and they're hoping to restore a good portion of those today. But as I said yesterday, there are some that still might not get restored until Tuesday, tomorrow, due to the serious nature of substation damage. Fatalities. The Erie County Department of Health Medical Examiner's Office has been reviewing reported death cases to determine those that died as a result of the blizzard. There have been multiple reports of death out there from various outlets and sources, but not all were related to the storm, such as a person dying in their heated home of a natural cause, but then being picked up by police because ambulance service wasn't available, or the normal funeral home pickups were not available, and those people were transported to hospitals. So we've heard a lot of different numbers with regards to deaths associated with this. The Erie County Department of Health Medical Examiner's Office confirmed through last night 13 individuals who had died as a result of the blizzard. Died in a car, died outside from exposure, died in a snow shovel or cardiac event regarding the snow blowing, were found in a home. I have the very sad news to report that in addition to the 13 confirmed deaths yesterday, the Erie County Department of Health Medical Examiner's Office has confirmed an additional 12 deaths, bringing the total for the blizzard to 25 deaths countywide. I do not have at this time the location, age, gender, or manner of death. We are hoping to have that very soon, and then we will report back out to media on that information. But these are an additional 12 deaths that the Erie County Medical Examiner's Office has confirmed were related to the blizzard, not someone who died of natural causes in their home. I have to offer, once again, my deepest condolences to all the family members, friends, and loved ones of those who've lost a loved one. There are probably individuals who have not been yet notified that their loved one has perished. And I just want to say this is a horrible situation. This may actually be now more deaths than occurred during the blizzard of '77. The blizzard of '77 lasted longer, 3 days of terrible conditions. This was 2 days of terrible conditions. But the ferocity of the storm was worse than the blizzard of '77. And now it appears we've had more deaths countywide. And once again, I want to offer my deepest condolences to all who've lost a loved one. This is just terrible. A number of the deaths that we reported on yesterday were cardiac events related to snow shoveling and snow blowing. We talked about this. We talk about it all the time. But if you are a senior or have a noted cardiac condition, which includes high blood pressure, you could be 35 years old but have high blood pressure, and that's a cardiac condition, please do not attempt to shovel or snow blow the snow. What happens when you go outside in these colder conditions is, truthfully, your arteries and veins constrict, which makes it tougher for your heart to pump the blood. And when it has to work harder, and when it works harder, it has a greater risk of having a cardiac event. And there were a number of deaths that we announced as part of the 13 yesterday that were related to snow shoveling and snow blowing. So if you have a noted cardiac condition, no matter how young you are, please do not snow shovel. Please do not snow blow. This is heavy, thick snow that in some areas is feet of depth because of the drifting. We don't want you to become another statistic from our medical examiner's office. And considering it's supposed to be 50 degrees later this week, a lot of the snow is going to melt at the end of the week. So if you are in that situation, please do not shovel. We are aware of the person who was confirmed to have died of carbon monoxide poisoning in Niagara County. This is another example why we say, please clear your furnace vents, clear your dryer vents. Everyone should have a carbon monoxide detector in their home. You can't smell carbon monoxide. It's not like the gas that comes off of a stove where they have that extra treatment in it so you can smell it. It smells like rotten eggs. If you're using a generator, only use a generator more than 20 feet from your house with the exhaust pointed in the opposite direction. Please do neighbor checks. We need you to go out there and do neighbor checks. If you have seniors who may be living in the house next door that were without power for quite some time, and it's safe to do it now, please go knock on their doors. I know it's difficult to get around, but knock on their door because their phone might not be working, especially if they have a cell phone. See if you can get them to respond. So please do a neighbor check. We've had many reports of neighbors doing great things for neighbors, helping them out, getting their vehicles unstuck, taking care of them in very difficult situations, bringing them in. I had a story I just heard from the city of Lackawanna Mayor Annette Iafallo that there was a tour bus that was a scheduled tour bus driving through our region, which was a winter wonderland tour of tourists from across the world that happened to get stuck in Lackawanna, and they were taken to the warming shelter in Lackawanna at the senior center, where they do have cots and they have other equipment, and these tourists are getting more than they bargained for with regard to their winter wonderland tour, as they've gone through one of the worst storms in U.S. history. But our people came together. People in Lackawanna were delivering food and other items so that these individuals could survive in a difficult situation. So I want to thank everyone out there who's worked incredible time and effort, from the paid professionals, the volunteers, and just the people being good neighbors in Erie County, for all the work that you've done. Thank you to all. I know it was just terrible. This situation is horrible. We're still dealing with snow. It stopped snowing here at the Emergency Operations Center in Cheektowaga, but it was coming down at a pretty good rate of 2 to 3 inches the hour in the overnight hours. And it is in the northern section of Erie County now. So some of the areas that were a little clear are getting it again. And of course, areas like Amherst, Clarence, Buffalo that have a driving ban are still getting more snow, and that's not great. I'm going to, Under Sheriff, I'll turn it over to you to say a few words, and then we'll open it up to questions from media as we're trying to get to another place very soon. But more importantly, we wanted to get this information out to the public. So Under Sheriff William Cooley to provide some information from the Sheriff's Office. And thank you for the work that he did. He personally was picking up and delivering youth detention workers to go for our youth detention facility on East Ferry to replace those who had been in the youth detention facility, our employees, for more than 3 days straight. He did the same, I know, for Sheriff's Office deputies for the holding center. So thank you for your work.
Thank you, County Executive. I'd like to express my condolences to everyone who may have lost a loved one as a result of this storm. It's a generational storm that unfortunately we haven't begun to really assess its full toll, but there'll be some focus in the coming days on that. I can tell you our deputies have been working incredibly long hours in both the police services and the jail management side. In some instances, they've been at work for 2.5 days now, and our dispatchers and 911 call takers are enduring the same situation. So thank you for their incredible effort. In some situations, deputies have actually used their own equipment to assist with rescue operations. But we are beginning to transition from rescue operations into med runs and dialysis runs, and assisting essential personnel get into hospitals. We're assisting a few doctors presently that have some emergency surgery scheduled. So our resources are being focused in that vein. We have a deputy in Batavia that is on a blood run, and his destination is Buffalo General Hospital and Sisters Hospital. So we're trying to help in that vein to the extent that we can. And also we're working in conjunction in those endeavors with the county parks rangers. So we appreciate their effort in this endeavor as well. So as we begin to get an upper hand on this storm, I would just encourage people to please continue to abide by any travel bans and warnings. And if you're out there, you're just going to complicate matters on first responders. So thank you.
Thank you, Under Sheriff, and thank you once again for the incredible work of the Sheriff's Office, all law enforcement, volunteer fire, the full-time paid fires from all the various agencies. Just a horrible situation that we can see sort of the light at the end of the tunnel, but this is not the end yet. We are not there. There are driving bans, as I noted, in communities that will continue to exist for some time, at least through the daylight hours, and maybe even into the overnight hours into tomorrow. So with that, I'm going to open it up for questions. I'd ask you, if you are on the WebEx, if you can, to click to raise your hand if you do have a question. Otherwise, I will call them one by one, and please keep yourself muted until I've identified you. Why don't we start with John Harris of the Buffalo News? Do you have a question, John?
I didn't have an immediate question yet, sorry.
No question, that's fine.
Nope.
We have Lauren Hall. Lauren, please unmute yourself.
Hi, we're just looking for some clarification on the number of deaths. I know you said 25 in Erie County. Earlier this morning, we heard 20 in the city of Buffalo. So are the 20 in the city of Buffalo included in that 25 in Erie County?
What the official death count comes from the Erie County Medical Examiner's Office. There are deaths that have been received by the city of Buffalo that may not have been deaths associated with the blizzard that were taken to hospitals for placement in the morgue until they could be distributed to the family in the funeral parlors. So the official death count from the Erie County Medical Examiner's Office for all deaths in Erie County was 25. What happens is once the body is, I hate to be talking about this, but once the body is received at the hospital, the Erie County Medical Examiner's Office works with the hospital to determine the cause of death. It's not to say that the city of Buffalo didn't pick up 20 bodies and take them in. That is probably an accurate statement, but they may not all have been related to the storm. So that's why I'm noting the official death total for all of Erie County is determined by the Erie County Medical.
Thanks so much for staying with us. You've been listening to an update on the deadly winter storm from Erie County officials who said that this is one of the worst storms in U.S. history, deadlier than even the blizzard in Buffalo of 1977. So that official there, the Erie County executive Mark Pollenkrantz, saying that now there are 25 confirmed deaths across Erie County as a direct result of this storm. Again, more deaths than the storm of 77, which lasted longer, but the ferocity of this storm was even worse. We also learned just now more than 12,400 people still without power. Their power may not be restored until at least Tuesday. And again, the news coming out of here, sadly, 25 deaths now across Erie County as a direct result of this storm.
Hi everyone, George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel, and don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.